All right, hello everyone. Once again, we've got another great interview here for our interview series on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. My name is Loulombardi, a.k.a. Loudini, and today we are talking with Bryan Shortell of the band Northern Faces. Bryan, welcome to the podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Lou.
Okay, Bryan, why don't we get a little bit of history of the band? You guys are just released your first full-length self-titled record here back in April. It's called Northern Faces. Who is Northern Faces? How did the band get started?
Northern Faces is myself. We have another singer, guitar player, Marco, and I. His name is Marco Testa. We share the vocal duties. It's a little bit of a unique situation. We don't really have just one singer. Him and I tend to split everything. And then Matt Ippolito, he's the other founding member of the band. He plays bass and does some harmonies as well. We have a new drummer named Mark McKenna, who's he's new to the group. He's just been with us a couple months now.
Okay, how did the band form?
Well, Marco and I have been playing music together, writing songs for over a decade now, over 10 years since we were teenagers, and we had been through various bands together, and then back in the summer of 2012, everything kind of hit a brick wall with a band that we were in before. Matt was in that band as well. It's called Around the World and Back, and it was just a really kind of tough time for everybody trying to figure out what to do next, and we ended up holed up in a cabin in Vermont for a week, just trying to write some songs and see if we could get anything to come out. And we ended up with the 6 songs that ended up on our first EP for Northern Faces. So during that week, too, we decided that instead of trying to find a producer like we normally would, we decided to produce the record ourselves. So I ended up doing all the production duties and mixing that first EP, and then Equal Vision Records heard the rough mixes of the record and decided they wanted to put that record out. And so that kind of kicked everything off for us. That, like I said, we recorded that summer 2012, and it came out in March of 2013, and that was kind of like the debut for Northern Faces.
What kind of influences do you have? Can you talk about your influences and maybe describe your sound a little bit?
We love big hooks. It just comes naturally to us. We're influenced by a lot of stuff, but I think you'll hear a lot of British rock. I'm a huge fan of Oasis. I'm a huge fan of The Verve and the new British rock bands coming out like Catfish and the Bottlemen. We also love great guitar players like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Clapton and that particular style of blues, like the Gary Clark Jr. is bringing back now too. You'll hear a lot of that in our music, and I think that's lacking a lot now. There's not a lot of guitar players like that, especially on the radio, and we miss that. And there's a lot of keyboards and a lot of that sort of stuff you're hearing on alternative radio, but we're trying to bring guitars back a little bit. So I think you'll hear quite a bit of, like I said, some of that British pop, British rock, some of that like Southern Stevie Ray Vaughan style blues guitar, but with a lot of pop sensibility.
I was checking out streaming it on SoundCloud. Your record label, I guess Equal Vision, has put up at least for now, has it up there. And that was one of the things that stood out to me was the lead guitar work, which is something that you're right, you don't hear a lot of, and if you do, it's very, very simplistic. I mean, what you guys have, the first song that jumped out was Cops Come. That's a really hot solo. Now, did you play that guitar solo, or your other guitar?
No, that's Marco. Marco is a hell of a guitar player, and he just has a lot of style. You can take 3 notes and there's soul there, and that's something that you can't. There's a lot of people who I think focus on speed, and they focus on trying to imitate some of their favorite players and stuff. But I think the best soloists are the ones that are really pulling from their soul, and that sounds cliche, but it's true. Like, you have to put your emotion into that. You're almost making your guitar sing in a sense. He's really great at that. It gives me something to try to strive for too. It's constant battle with each other. We're trying to better each other.
So you guys trade off with the soloing too, like you do some lead guitar as well.
Yeah, especially live, we'll kind of do that more. We extend a lot of stuff, and we'll kind of go back and forth sometimes. But yeah, it's something we're trying to bring a lot more to the live show, because we've realized that there's other people who feel that way too, that miss that guitar sound. And we thought that it would just maybe like older guys who kind of grew up with that sort of guitar sound, and it would feel very natural to them. But we found like there's even a lot of younger kids. You'll see people who are 16 years old who maybe never really saw a band play like that live before. You just don't see a lot of it now, and it wins them over. So it's really nice to see that too, that there is still a desire for that sort of sound out there.
It seems like the whole guitar thing gets cyclical,
Absolutely.
It takes like a big meteoric rise, and there was the whole thing in the early 70s with you had the lead singer and the lead guitar player where they were always the sort of co-fronting the bands, and then that drops off a little bit as alternative rock comes around, and then the waves back up again, so it's electric guitar is really it's always there, just kind of patiently waiting for its moment.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that we're fortunate that, I think that there's been a swing for the past 5 or 6 years more leaning towards electronic and keyboard-driven music, especially with like an 80s pop sensibility that was starting to come back. But I think that we're just at the right point now as a band where I feel like I'm really happy with our songwriting abilities, especially I'm really looking forward to what we do next. I think as most artists tend to, but I think we're at a point where, as far as culture is concerned and pop culture, I think that people are starting to want to hear guitars again. So that's really exciting. I think you're going to start to see more of that in radio, just like when, grunge took over in the 90s. I think we're about to see another swing like that again, which is really exciting.
Cool. What I wanted to ask you, too, is about the songwriting. You mentioned going off to a cabin and working. Do you typically write together, or does somebody bring a song and you guys like tear it apart and work on it, or how does the songwriting usually work?
90% of the time, the songs tend to happen, I would say, separate from each other. Usually, they start off with an acoustic guitar, almost always. And Marco and I both tend to write on an acoustic guitar, so it's just a lot of bands tend to have a cycle. They'll have their touring cycle, and then their writing cycle, and their recording. And our writing it just tends to overlap. I mean, we are writing all of the time. It's just whenever inspiration strikes. There are times where there'll be a lot of intent to it, where we'll say, okay, like that cabin, for example, where we knew we were going to go there, and the goal was to write songs. But generally speaking, it's more like we bring an idea to practice on an acoustic guitar, and then try to bring it to life with the band. And a lot of times the song takes a 180 and ends up in a totally different place than maybe you would have imagined it. But
right.
I think that when you tend to strip everything away and start with just an acoustic guitar and a vocal, you have to be much more aware of the melody and the lyrics, and I think that those things are probably one of the most important pieces of a song. So I think that's a real benefit to us writing that way.
Do you guys ever, speaking of that then, let me just ask you, do you guys ever go to like coffee shops and maybe just you and Marco together do like acoustic shows?
No, never. We've never dabbled into that. We don't do any covers. I don't know. For whatever reason, that never has seemed that inspiring.
Because I know, the only reason I'm asking is mainly because from a business standpoint, being an indie act, or not indie, you're signed to an indie label, but, touring and stuff like that, sometimes it's easier to get yourselves out there with two guys on acoustic, you know what I mean, to play around,
we actually had now that I think about it, we did do like a radio tour where we're visiting radio stations, and we were just performing acoustic, Matt's a killer banjo player, our bass player.
Oh.
So we'll tend to take songs, like a song like Cops Come, which, you've heard, that's one of our more rock songs, with a big guitar solo and stuff. That song, when we played acoustic, I adjusted the vocal melody and everything, and it turns into a folk song with a banjo. And so we love to sort of experiment that way. I have no problem when bands will take a song and just sort of like, you'll hear the song, and the only real difference is that they're playing on an acoustic guitar. But I love the idea of being able to showcase the strength of a song by turning it into something completely new and unique, but still having it be strong. I think that's a really, really cool thing.
Oh, so you're like reinterpreting your own music.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
It's exciting. It gives the song new life, and it just makes you feel accomplished too, because it shows that melody and the structure of the song was strong. I think that sometimes songs can be presented in several different ways. Like you could see a song like when Johnny Cash covered "Hurt." He reinterpreted that song and just made it something that Trent Reznor would have never imagined. But I think it was probably a better interpretation. Reznor says the same thing. So it's really fun to try to do that even with your own material.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and it's cool. So this is the single, the song that you're sort of pushing is Wait, Wait, Wait?
I would say we've kind of switched gears. It was kind of interesting. We put Wait, Wait, Wait out because it's the most pop-leaning song on the record. And so we thought, okay, we'll put this out before the record comes out, and then we'll release Cops Come as a single. Cause we have a video for Cops Come that'll be coming out soon, too. And then Wait just sort of took on a life of its own, especially on Spotify. It got on a couple big playlists on Spotify, and the next thing we knew, it hit 1 million plays, and we've never had 1 million of anything, so we were excited, and now it's almost up to 2 million now, and so we kind of held steady with that for a little while, but Cops Come is probably, that was our intention for that to be our main single. We want there to be no mistake that we consider ourselves a rock band, The Wait leans a little more pop, but the guitar solo and Cops Come, things like that, that's what we really want to define our band to people who are new listeners. So are you guys heading out on tour soon? Yeah, we leave in about 3 weeks. I think we take off. It's about a month-long run. It's anchored by 6 or 7 different festivals, which we're really excited about. We're playing in Riot Fest in Chicago, Riot Fest in Denver, Fashion Meets Music Festival, Pinelands Music Festival. We're playing in 2 weeks. There's a few, and there's some great bands. I mean, just at the Riot Fest shows, there's everybody from Modest Mouse to Congos to there's Snoop Dogg. I mean, it's just crazy. It's such a diverse lineup, and it's exciting for us, too, because we get to play, and then we get to hang out for the other 2 days at the festival, just kind of take in all the bands.
Yeah, good networking opportunities, too, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah. We're going to try to take advantage of that, and it sounds so businessy, but really it's just hanging out with people, making friends, and then, finding more like-minded people.
So where are you guys based out of?
We're in Albany, New York.
Oh, okay.
So we're upstate New Yorkers.
Okay, cool. And this Metroland is a publication there that gave you guys some kind of award?
Yeah, they I guess they hit up our label asking for a picture a few weeks ago, and we're like, I have no idea what that's for, but they named us Best Alternative Band, and they had a nice little write-up about us, which was really cool. And they're kind of the they're the alternative news weekly up here, but they're very respected, and so it was exciting because that was their staff picks too, So that was
okay.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. So is there a good scene in Albany, or what's it like?
It's growing, I would say. It's really unique. Hard to explain. It's a band. For a long time, there was a really big hardcore scene here. A lot of heavy music did really well here. But trying to get people to come out to see an alternative band or an indie band or whatever was almost impossible. But I think it was just lack of good bands, and now there's some really great bands in the area, and so you see a lot of growth. And then there's a radio station here, 1027 WEQX. They're based out of Vermont, but they're the alternative station for Albany, and they have been putting on some incredible shows lately that I think have been getting people excited about that style of music here again.
Oh, excellent. So is there anything, before we wrap up here, is there anything you'd like to plug to the audience?
No, I mean, just check out our music, and honestly, we don't care if people buy it or they stream it on Spotify or the new Apple Music or whatever. Our music video will be coming out in a couple of weeks, so keep your eyes peeled for the Cops Come video. We're really excited about that. We've got all the social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, so feel free to check us out. It's all just Northern Faces. But, yeah, check us out on there, and hopefully you like the music.
So go to Twitter, Northern Faces, Facebook, Northern Faces. Is that the best way to get hold of you guys? Okay, and if everybody go do that, check these guys out. They're a really good band. When we do our music cast here next week, we are definitely going to feature Northern Faces. We're going to play some of their songs so you guys will get to hear them. Hey, Bryan, thank you so much, man, for taking some time to talk with us today.
Of course. No, thank you so much for having me.
We wish you guys all the best of luck. And if you could hang on the line for a second after I end the call, I'd like to ask you one more thing off the record. Guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been talking with Bryan from Northern Faces, and you can get more info at Facebook / Northern Faces or Twitter, Northern Faces. And they've got a website that is in the works So just Google them. You'll get all the information. We will see you guys next time on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.